My Tastebuds subscription arrived, and the first thing that I'm going to make is the Jamaican jerk chicken sandwich. And I'm gonna start out by making the pineapple pico de gallo. So for that, it says we need a plum tomato. Well, don't have a plum tomato, but I do have quite a few little cherry tomatoes. So I'm going to chop them up and use that instead. A couple other ingredients it calls for are chopped pineapple, canned or fresh. So I bought a little 8-ounce container of pineapple and I've dumped it into a glass bowl. I'm gonna use a 1/4 cup of it, and then the rest I'm gonna dump in a little sandwich bag and freeze it, and I'll spread it out so it's flat. And that way I'll have something for smoothies, or if you guys have ever had Dole Whip, ooh, so good. Dole Whip is I believe it's a dairy-free, like almost like sherbet or sorbet, but there's no dairy in it. It's just frozen pineapple that is pureed, you know, like in your food processor, or I'm gonna do it in my new blender. I have to look up some recipes and see exactly what goes into it. It can't just be straight pureed pineapple, frozen. I'm imagining maybe like some coconut milk I could add to it, or I do eat dairy, so maybe just a little heavy cream or half and half just to help it come together. I don't know. I'm gonna look up some recipes and find out. So anyway, this is what in my mind is equivalent to 1 large Roma tomato. And I'm just doing it in halves or quarters because it is like a little, you know, like a pico, like a salsa that's gonna go on top of these Jamaican jerk chicken sandwiches. So I don't want it too big or else it's gonna be hard to get the bun on top. So yeah, probably quarters for all of them. That looks pretty good. All right, into our mixing bowl this goes. Let me grab my knife here. So I used the utility or the tomato knife for that. It's just easier cutting through the skins of the tomatoes. And these tomatoes are also a little bit aged. You know, they're starting to get like a touch wrinkled, so they're a little tougher to cut through. But I just want to use them up. I hate wasting food, so I'm like, well, they're not the prettiest, but they certainly taste good still. I had a few before I started filming, and they are sweet and delicious. All right, so there are our tomatoes. Then it's a 1/4 cup of the pineapple. So let's see here. Oh, you know what? I need to get the weight of this and write it on my little paper over here. All right, so 1/4 cup. All right, there we go. That's gonna be good. And let's see, what else do we need here? Half a jalapeno. It does say to use gloves when you're doing this. I'm living dangerously today. No gloves for me. And I am gonna take the seeds out. The other half of this jalapeno, I'm going to put into the corn salad that I'm making for a side dish. And you guys, I think, have seen me make the corn salad before. I must have a video of it posted on my Facebook page. There we go. So nice thin strips, and then we're gonna mince this. We want it really, really small because a big old bite of jalapeno, which my husband would probably love because he's really into spicy food. But for the rest of us out there who just want, you know, a little mild kick, we're just gonna do a fine, fine mince on this. So again, that's half a jalapeno. And then I'm gonna run my knife through and make sure it's in very fine pieces. That looks great. I really like the flavor of jalapeno. It has like a very verdant green flavor that I appreciate and enjoy. All right, we'll save that other half, like I said, for the corn salad later. We're gonna do 2 green onions. I've got a mega one here and then a slightly smaller one. And the recipe doesn't call for garlic, but I'm gonna microplane a smaller garlic clove in because I enjoy the flavor of garlic and I think it'll just taste good in this pico. Let's see. I can tell this outer is a little dry. I'm not a fan of that. There we go. Get that right off. All right, so I cut down the middle, and that's just going to help us get the slightly smaller size that we want. There's a lot of tomato juice on this cutting board. Wow. Let's carefully slide that to the side. Here we go. Into the mince. We buy probably 2 or 3 bundles of green onions every week. They're great for all sorts of dishes. They have that mild onion flavor. The white part is more oniony than the green part. So if you're like, ooh, onions aren't my thing, just use the green part. You can save the whites for something maybe that you're gonna cook down. It's great if you saute the whites in a little bit of butter before you make rice. Then you get like a mild, very, very mild, just nice flavor to your rice, especially if you use a little bit of butter and chicken stock instead of water to cook your rice. There we go. Let's get that right in there. What else does it say? 2 tablespoons of cilantro, half of a lime juice, some salt, and like I said, I'm gonna do my garlic clove as well. Ugh, peeling. Let's get out the peeler there. You know, peeling garlic is the bane of my existence. Alrighty, much better. Let's just microplane this right in. I'm holding on to the little nubbin end. All gone. It's like a magic trick. Do a big pinch of salt in there as well. The salt is going to help pull some moisture out of the tomatoes and give you that salsa-y mix the juices. And I'm making this a little bit early so that it can sit. I'm just rolling my lime right now to break up the juice sacs inside and make sure I get a lot of juice out of this. And I'm going to cut off the one end, cut it in half, and I'll use that other half of the lime for the corn salad. All right, there we go. Ooh, use my muscles. And then I flip it over and press it from the other direction just to get every bit of juice out of there. Ooh, that we can. That looks pretty good. I like it. And last little bit is some cilantro. And then that's just gonna sit until I make the chicken sandwiches themselves. That looks good. So for cilantro or any green herbaceous, you know, soft herb, just do a pile and then run your knife through it and then just go back another direction. Kind of just keep your pile tall and run your knife through and it'll chop it right up for you. There we go. Looks pretty good. Get that into our mix and I'm going to stir it and of course we'll taste it and see if it needs any additional seasoning. I'm not going to do too crazy right now though because it is going to sit before I put it on the sandwiches, and as moisture gets drawn out of the tomatoes it's going to water down a little bit, so I don't want to go too crazy right now with the seasoning. I'll just taste it before I put it on the sandwiches and see if it might need a little additional salt or pepper. I can't imagine it's going to need more lime juice, but you never know. All right, let's give that a little try. Ooh, a little spicy, The pineapple is sweet. The cilantro is, you know, just spot on. That's gonna be so good on these spicy chicken sandwiches. All right, part 2, the chicken. So for the chicken, it's gonna marinate for 10 to 30 minutes, and it's a pretty simple marinade. It's 3 tablespoons of soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. So this is a 1/4 cup, and there's 4 tablespoons in a 1/4 cup. So I'm just gonna do not quite a 1/4 cup, because again, it's a marinade. So even if your measurements are a tiny bit off, it's not that big a deal. And I'm gonna do a splash of apple cider vinegar. That's about a tablespoon. I like apple cider vinegar, so a touch more is fine. All right, it says we're also going to do a tablespoon of the Jamaican jerk rub and 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. And it doesn't say if it's packed brown sugar or not. So let's see. This is 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. Move that up to a tablespoon of our spice mix. Ooh, yum. That smells really good. All right. And we need some green onion. And that's it. Oh, that's so easy. All right. Love it. I'm gonna mince this up. After it's done marinating, you heat up a tablespoon of oil in a pan, and then you add in the chicken and the marinade and let it cook over medium heat until the marinade has basically evaporated and like coats the chicken. So this will be, let's mince that up a tiny bit more. So this will be really well flavored chicken. I'm excited for this. All right, in that goes, and I'm doing chicken thighs. I just like thigh meat. That's really big for a sandwich. I got these brioche rolls. Maybe they'll shrink a tiny bit with cooking. I'm like, holy cow, that's like a lot of surface area. Let's trim off a little bit of fat off of these. Not because I'm afraid of fat, but you know, I just don't want it on my sandwich like all grizzly. All right, 1 in. That one's a little smaller. It's probably a little more portion controlled for me. That looks pretty good. 2 in. I don't know what's going on over there. Trim that off. 3 in. There we go. 4, I'm just gonna move these around so they get coated in the marinade. I'm gonna do the full 30 minutes and then into a skillet with a little oil, and I'll show you guys what the assembled sandwich looks like. Toasted the buns in a dry pan on both sides to get it nice and crispy. And this is a brioche bun, so it's enriched with egg, I believe, and just really delicious. I'm smearing some mayonnaise that I mixed with lime juice and the Jamaican jerk rub on both sides of the bun. Ooh, yeah. And then we've got our chicken over here. I did let it cool just a little bit so that it wouldn't burn our mouths when we ate it. And this chicken came out amazing. Up higher, there we go. Oh, can't even hold the pan up. It's so delicious. Let's do a nice big piece for Seth here, right on the bottom. Then we have our pico. We're gonna put that right on top. I am using a slotted spoon because I don't want it too messy. The freshness from the cilantro coming out of this smells so good. Put that lid right on. And then we're also serving it with some Mexican street corn salad. Big scoop of that. Wow, that looks phenomenal. And that's our first Tastebuds recipe, Jamaican jerk chicken sandwiches.